So, starting off with the SPX here, we're going to do 1 week, 1 hour. I'm going to change my TPO charts on SPX just a little bit because I just think it needs lower ranging. So, for reference, just for here on out, it's 1 week, 1 hour now instead of the one week, 4 hour like it is on Bitcoin. Just because the SPX just trades tighter and less volatile than Bitcoin. And then the daily as well, we'll start doing 15-minute instead of 30 minutes. But, anyways, so what happened? Right, let's start off with some TPO here, and we'll get into the Greeks in a little bit. But yeah, essentially, didn't hold the value area high. Got rejected, as you can see right here off the point of control, right here at this blue line, and the downtrend has started. Right now, we're here at these previous single prints, trying to fill those. We got to see what happens. Right, there is some support at 67.30. I will say this: we did close under that. If you do not hold 6,600, it's 6,600 right on the dot. Okay, we can look at it from a TPO perspective like this. Pardon me. But from a Greek perspective, it's 6,600. If you lose 6,600, the move through 6,500 all the way down is very accelerated. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But you can see that there's been no love, right? Didn't break out of the all-time high. The point of control, the previous all-time high held, right? Even retested right here. And, acceptance lower, right? The scariest part about this is, again, we've got acceptance into our all-time high VWAP, and we're actually below it going into the lower band, which is not good, right? You kind of need to bounce out here, or it's well, we looking too good, right? I'll be honest, guys. I think it's starting. We're below all the key flip levels. I don't see how the SPX has 7,000. I know I said this back in October, and I've been parading about it, but this is not, it's not safe, okay? Like, the trade is not safe for the upside anymore. And we know this, and I told you guys, watch for, when it gets rejected. I was talking about Twitter a lot about how important 68.20 was. And yeah, 68.20 was the flip downwards. Below 67.90 was the gamma flip, and it was a brutal day yesterday. To be honest, like I don't think we've had a 1% down day, like just straight down, no even reattempts. Like I think it's been a little bit, right? Yeah, let's break it down now, closer to. I said we're gonna go 15-minute days, right? Yeah. Okay. We'll do. Let's just build out a ladder here. We can do this exercise to get here. This is much nicer than I think using that larger TPO profile we were trying to do beforehand. So I kind of like this. We can do this. This is a huge profile here. This is nice here. You guys can get kind of a reference to where we are and what we're doing. So, since I mean, I'm gonna have to go back and do all these, but whatever. But for now, at least you kind of get a general sense of what's going on here, right? Is there any more we can do here quickly? No. Okay, so we have an unrepaired high above, right? Like unrepaired high above here. A lot of imbalance. Single prints up here, single prints up here. I would honestly look to see if you get some sort of, hold of these lows and kind of a sweep of these single prints. That 68.20 level though, like again, like this is going to be critical to reclaim. So, I mean, like, look, we even closed smack on the dead of the lows under the value area low for the day, right? And again, we're under this all-time high VWAP. Real quick here, just to visualize it. There we go, that's good. But our VWAPs are compressing, right? Look at this. So our all-time high VWAP is about to start crossing over the April low VWAP. That's not good, right? We know what happens when things start to cross over. What you're getting is acceptance into the lower value, right? We said this before. We looked at the market Greeks, but the uptrend failed, right? The point of control held, right? You know, the call wall held. Like this is a big call wall. Look, it rejected perfectly off of it, and it's been straight down, right? We're under all the key flips, we know that. But just that, like a TPO perspective, you know, like there's no love. Look how weak this is. Like there's no buying here. This is weak. You know, it tries to stabilize out, rejects point of control, carries down. This is a somewhat balanced day, but again, held under that 6820 level. Ultimately, you know, it came up and just it broke lower, right? Like the value area high. Like yesterday, it opened at the value area high, right? You can see it, and just straight down, right? So you have a lot of compression. Again, like you ran out of steam. You got the VWAP compression coming in, and there's just like there's a lot more puts on the table, right? So we're gonna get into the market Greeks now and kind of go over like all of this. So let me pull this up quick. So let's talk again. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but let's go to why I spotted this divergence so early, right? Well, 6820 is kind of in this level, right? We did get above it, but ultimately, you know, started rejecting kind of at the call wall right here, right? So this would be a lot of net dealer short, but this is also a call wall. This is showing where people want strikes to go, right? So the 7,000 strike here, again, it would just be a pin, right? All above its net dealer short. So like the call wall literally held perfectly, right? So the call wall was right here, right? What is this? Net dealer short. Next above would be, you know, resistance if you get a bit higher, but we didn't push higher, right? And now we're under all this, right? Like this was attempted support, you know, this general zone is attempted support. The last line here we kind of have was here, right? There's a little bit more that's built out on a more updated profile. I'll be back in 1 minute, okay?
Okay.
So let's look over the Tuesday profile of what happened, right? So here we are, right? What do you see at 6820? All just net dealer short. A little bit of support here, but that's it. And negative gamma all the way down. And this was Tuesday, right? So this is Tuesday's profile. 6760 was the level to hold. It didn't hold, right? So coming in today, or sorry, but before we skip to today, but let's just take a look at what was going on. Right, there were flat gamma at the open. That 6820 level did not hold. As the day goes on, all you got was negative charm, right? The day closed at 6800 on Tuesday, right? As the day carried on, what was worried about is gamma basically gets more negative, and dealer charm creates suppression on price moving downwards. And that's what happened. At the end of the day, the last 5 minutes, it just went straight down. It just went straight down. If you go pull up the 15-minute chart, just go like it was straight down. It was right to 6800. So what happened Wednesday? So Wednesday, it was similar. Opened, again, right at kind of that 6820 level, weak and unstable. Even Dan saw this, I saw this. All negative gamma down. And the support below got lower. A little bit here, you could have had some net deal long, but the move accelerated below that. Sure enough, we broke below heavily, right? Same thing. Like, they would get shorter gamma as the day goes on. Look right. Orange region reflects increasing negative gamma on deck today through afternoon. And that's what happened all day today. There was not an attempt out of the bulls, nothing like that. This all day it went negative gamma, charm suppression, right? And yeah, that's what happened. And the VIX is up a little bit today. Once you get over 19.5 in the VIX, you fucking, I hope you're not on the long side, because the VIX is just gonna get bought and absolutely ripped, right? We talked about VIX profile a little while ago. It's still the same. Right, it's kind of funny how they held VIX expiration down to 16, and all of a sudden the market started started going down, right? That's why, you know, when people play VIX calls and VIX expiry, I don't like to bid the VIX expiry because the VIX expiry is not the OPEX expiry. It's on the Wednesday, which is 2 days before. If I ever bid the VIX, I always buy UVXY or some other VIX index, and I always do it a little bit longer out because stuff like this happens, right? You're like, oh, I gotta nail the date on the VIX, blah blah blah. And no, right? So, yeah. But again, none of this held, right? It's been all negative gamma, charm suppression. You know, it's just not been easy to trade, right? So let's go over to some kind of more newer photos. So we can even just look here at like some VIX calls going out. I mean, these are VIX calls for 23, and we know 50 cents bidding VIX 33 and 75 calls sold in February, right? And I said Q1 is probably going to be rough, right? Especially with how the profile is now. Once all these options expire and those 7,000 strikes go into expiry and they're going to profit, it's just going to create more down pressure on the indexes, right? And just talk about this quick is, I think why this has stalled so poorly is because market makers will try and be net neutral, right? So when you're getting, like, when your bid ask is getting filled, the market maker's net neutral, right? So they filled the position, but they also take the neutral trade on the other side, if that makes sense. So it's like basically if you hedge the call, they're probably going to hedge a short, right? If you hedge a put, they're probably going to hedge a call, right? So you have to kind of understand how that tide works. But if, like, it's kind of hard for me to explain in words, but I'm a much better visual learner, but I suck at drawing visuals. But think of it this way: these guys have been selling puts to lift the market up, and the spot buying of individual stocks and indexes has declined. And what's happening is if you're hedging sold puts, which is bullish, and you're trying to hedge calls as well, you're basically, since we're in this tight environment now where charm is more suppressive and you're running into these resistance levels that are holding, the decay on those sold puts plus hedged calls starts to kick in, right? So you get this inverse, one, you get theta decay, but you get that inverse IV crush plus the Vega start to kick in, right? So all of a sudden your delta and all that starts to decline, and the resistance that the market maker has is basically, it just creates that charm to force more downward pressure, right? So you can sell puts, you can buy puts, you can sell calls, you can buy calls. But when you're double hedging too much, like, the market maker has to bid that opposite side, and you effectively create this, I don't know how to explain it, but like a stalled out price, if that makes sense. You can see it, like nothing happened, right? Like it tried and tried and tried, but it didn't even attempt to break above. It just stopped right underneath it or right at it, right? So if you think of it this way too, those calls get so much more expensive as you're getting closer to the strikes. Well, who's going to buy up here if the calls are so overpriced, right? It's stupid. One, you're running into resistance. Two, it's overpriced as shit. Three, the return on, like, the delta and IV return on that, it's just, the contracts are useless to fucking buy. Like, anyone with a brain would think, oh my god, why am I trying to long into resistance? Oh my god, this is too expensive. Oh my god, the Greeks on this look terrible. So effectively, the groups doing this, more or less Trump's group doing this, right? We know there's certain hedge funds and whatnot that are being funded to do this, and certain institutions connected to, you know, Scott Bessent and Trump. If you guys just pull up Bloomberg Terminal and take a look for yourself, go find out where the money's coming from, look who's connected to where, whatever. But regardless, the rally's been manipulated, and we know this. But now the cracks are starting to show, and the fact that this strategy they've been using is starting to die out, right? So effectively, regardless if they're trying to prop the market up or not, they fucked themselves. And that's why I said I think Q1 is going to be a bloodbath too, is when all this unwinds, it's just going to create downwards pressure on the indexes, if that makes sense, right? You know, and even today, some guy tried to buy 20,000 0TT 6800 calls when the index was all the way down here. And I'm like, who the fuck would buy that? Why would you buy 20,000 0DT contracts for 6800 when the entire move the whole way down? Like, we talked about this, but, oh, sorry, let me pull it up again. The whole day, and this was, like, it was the same as yesterday. When the day goes on, the gamma's going to get worse, and so is the charm, right? So it's just suppression. Like there's no way to counter it. Like you would need crazy spot buying. You would like, I don't know. Like I really don't know why this this was a strategy. So like let's just look at the sectors, right? XLV was down. XL Energy was kind of up. XLK was down. XLP was, you know, whatever. XLY was down. XLRE was whatever. XLI was down. XLB was down. XLU was, or sorry, XLU was neutral. XLU was down. XLC was down, but the housing index was also down, right? You know, and the yen's weaker. We've been talking about this yen problem. The Nasdaq has looked the weakest of them all, right? Like look at the Nasdaq, right? It's just at a lower high. That's really bearish, right? Because we know if you get under this neckline, it's bad. And look, like you can even just see like on the bar to bar count, no acceptance, no acceptance, no acceptance, no acceptance, no acceptance. Like it's the whole move is lower. Like honestly, the most bearish index right now, which is primarily tech based, is the Nasdaq, right? And even just looking at individual stocks, look, Google's down. Google looks like it's actually about to fall off a cliff. Amazon's down. Again, just lower highs. Apple's starting to tick down. If you get below this neckline of Apple, it's going to get bad. Look at Meta. No love at all. Kind of tried to fill the gap here, and that was it. Microsoft, just lower highs all the way down. Nvidia, it's about to do this head and shoulders break. It's about to do it. It's about to do it. Right? I'm pretty sure... Can I turn on all chart patterns? Will this show the head and shoulders? Yeah, there it is. Right? A couple other ones on here, but regardless, the primary target's down, and we know this is down. Like, ignore what's going on up here. Like the way the gamma and stuff. I remember I posted that trade at the end of the video where I said it was last week, and I said if you can't break 190, you've got a fucking fluke. So ignore these targets here. Look, you can just go head and shoulders down here. You can go triangle down here, right? And I'll be honest, the next line of support for Nvidia, I think it's sitting at like 160 or 165. Right, but I think if you break this neckline, it's over. And Amazon just announced today that, or sorry, OpenAI, pardon me, I believe it was going to start using the Amazon AI chips instead of the Nvidia ones. So again, this is just more divergence in Nvidia, which is props up 10% of the S&P, if I'm not mistaken, plus the Nasdaq. And Tesla, all these guys here on Twitter posting flow and shit are like, yo, look at this guy, Tesla's going to 500. And they're posting the flow of the market maker taking the opposite side of the bid, and retail's just FOMOing into this. And sure enough, today, all those 500 and 600 strikes unwound. So look, Tesla was hit 95, and then just dropped. All right, could it still go above 500? Maybe, but there's a thick call wall up here. I'd be surprised with the divergent scenario we're in right now if it actually happened. PLTR. Just on the down. This one, honestly, Palantir, I think Palantir is probably one of the more scary ones of all, in my opinion. AMD, just lower highs, right? So I'll turn this off so we can stop looking at this. Intel, making lower lows. Making lower highs, pardon me. This is actually an extreme bearish divergence. So we can look at it in something kind of like that. And, I don't know, let's say something like that. This is a common bear pattern. Bitcoin did this earlier this year, but it would kind of do this, right? Where it tries to go up, goes down, goes up, and then just eventually breaks through. All right, and you got a lot of gapping down here to fill. I'm sure on a TPO profile there's a lot of stuff there as well. I don't have the Greeks of Intel up with me right now, but what I'm trying to say is all these stocks like CoreWeave, Oracle, like Oracle looks like fucking dog shit, as it should, and Blue Owl pulled out of their fucking database thing today. I'm sorry, Blue Owl's not, like, that's just, like, I don't know. Like, it's like, so many people are finally realizing this AI trade is done, but have missed this whole move. I've been seeing this through the eye of the lens for fucking months, knowing this was going to happen, right? And again, you don't see this on, like, an RSI perspective or SMA perspective or anything. You only know this if, one, you're looking at things like the credit spreads for these companies. You're reading the financial reports, you understand that the revenues aren't outpacing the debts outpacing the revenue. The credit default swaps on these companies are fucking through the roof. And they're pivoting. Like, some companies are pivoting. They're not going to Nvidia. You know, people are starting to get skeptical about OpenAI. People are skeptical about Oracle. People are skeptical about CoreWeave. Right? And it's like visually you can see it. Like you can see it. Like there's no denying that this does not look confident, right? Yeah, like the XLF. The XLF, if this thing goes with how current economic conditions are looking, if the XLF goes, I mean, kiss your ass goodbye. Like, that's going to be the real cookers if the XLF goes. And I think it's close. I really do. Our 30-year yields are still holding up high here. Our 10-year by 2 is well over the flip. Or 10-year by 2, sorry. I don't know if I said that right. You know, our 20-year is whatever. So, I don't know. You know, Bitcoin here, it's not getting a catch, right? It had that volatile day yesterday, so we'll actually explain this because we're about to get into Bitcoin. But you see why this happened here? I'm gonna show you exactly what happened here. Ready? You guys want to go over to Bitcoin? Let's go look, because we're probably done with the stock talk for now. Well, let's go down to Bitcoin. Okay. Now it's time to get the right strategies out here. So since we have multi-overlaying value here, we can merge yesterday's profile. So look at this. What do you guys see here? All right. Why did it do this? Do we see this random print here? So you got to hold this, right? This is the April value high. This is the April point of control. This is the April value low. You have to hold this, right? We know this. Let's go over to the weekly and see why this price stalled exactly right here, right? We can look at it from this perspective. Look at the blocks here. Maybe it just rejected off that point of control here on this random, 3-day composite. Maybe, right? Maybe we can look at it that way and say, okay, well, we know the profile here rejected exactly at the previous point of control. Maybe we can look at it that way, right? How about we do this? How about we make this way easier to look at? Let's just move to our weekly, right? Because you mark these weekly composites down. Oh. Our 4-week, multi-week composite was the exact price that Bitcoin failed to go over. And you are now flirting with accepting into the lower value of the cycle low VWAP. And the next spot I would start aiming for if this drops is down here. I think you get a macro bounce here in the 60s maybe, especially just to fill these single prints. But the next spot you'd be looking for is definitely down closer to here. And people are going to be like, "Whoa, that's impossible. Trump's in the market. It's going to go up." Dude, guys, you guys have seen the USDT dominance chart 1,000 times now. You guys know this. You know this has been divergent. Their first exit to short and to get out was this exact issue right here. Okay? Right here. What happened here, guys? Your perfect short in the market was right in this general zone, right? There was no hold of anything up here. Failed to break out here. Failed to break out here. Failed to break out here. Sorry. Hold on. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failed attempts to break out and get higher value. And what happened? We started accepting lower, right? Let's pull out an anchor view up here and just go, oh God. Right? There was no acceptance back into higher value. This is your perfect time to short. It was right in here when price failed to get out of this multi-week composite again. And look. Now your VWAPs are compressing, and they're about to cross in a couple days. Okay? If this is the first cycle, we don't get a test of the 365-day VWAP, I would not be surprised. Or, if this happens, it'll probably be in January when it's come down a bit. Right? And your most easiest point to short would probably be somewhere in here, if it comes up and touches it, where this imbalance is. But we'll have to see what happens then, right? I'm going to assume it'll be at this value area low or somewhere in this imbalance here. And I expect this to come down. I expect Bitcoin to move lower. If we do not get the 365 VWAP retest, which would be strange because every cycle it does it before confirming lower, right? This is last cycle. Cycle before. Cycle before. Right? Every time it tries to do it. Right? Here's a much better example, right? This is your 52-week SMA, right? Look, failed retest, right? Let's look at it this way. It usually tests that. Look, so 720-day VWAP would be the lower part, which is kind of where it bounces from, right? So you usually kind of get a bounce here, maybe here, maybe here, and then you always retest the top, right? Before confirming lower into a bear market, right? This is a great example that I gave yesterday to a fellow on Twitter. I would not be surprised if price somehow did not push up here anymore. The fact we have failed so many times to get above value, above yearly open, we're just accepting lower. There's been no love at all. I honestly, at this point, I can't believe I'm saying this because I'll be honest, I've been waiting to double down on the short from up there. This is honestly maybe the first cycle where we don't get that retest if the economic shit and stocks, whatever, fuck off a lot faster than people are participating. And that's not a bad thing inherently. You know, it sucks for bulls who are trying to stay bullish, right? But we've been divergent for 3 months. You know, January will be 4 months, right? Like we know this. And all it would say if we don't get the second retest, it would just confirm the bear market. It would just give it more validation, right? The retest I do expect to happen at some point, right? But it's just a matter of when and if we get it. But again, we've accepted into lower value so much, especially on such a lengthy timescale. Like this is going on. This will be 5 weeks after this Sunday's close. Especially if we don't get back into here. If we just accept lower. Right? Like that's not good. Right? And I mean alts are doing the same thing. Right? Look at ETH. Fail sold the yearly open, right? Like nothing has come out of it that's been like good, right? Like I gotta update this and change it to 4. But see what I mean? Like, and to the people who just haven't accepted fate, like I understand everyone wants price to go up, whatever. But guys, if you look at any metric, retail interest never returned. USD dominance, you know, never broke out properly, right? The USD dominance flattened out, like made 3 triple tops, right? It was a 3 triple top pattern, all at different price levels, right? Like, I don't know how to say this, but like, if you have not understood that everything is divergent by now, okay? The pain trade is up, the easy trade is down. And if you haven't been shorting from the higher highs, the higher areas, I don't know what to tell you. But I mean, let's even just hop over to let's go over to the QQQ, right? Sorry, I know I'm jumping around from SPX to Bitcoin back to stock indexes, but bear with me, all right? So let's do this quick. All right, let's just build out composites quick just for exercise for everybody. And again, thank you to whoever recommended it to me to switch to this kind of different profile layout and move to a lower profile range, because honestly, it does make things a lot nicer. Honestly, there's so much value here. Hold on, we can do this. This is actually perfect. Hold on. Yeah, we're going to do that. That's way better to look at. So we talked about this, right? Of how important it was to reclaim 625 and hold it and to push over 630, right? And that was from a Greek's perspective. Well, look, we got right there and stopped 629. Where did point of control fail? 625. And this whole thing has just been a ladder down, right? We can actually add that too, because that's close enough. Where the point of control rejects again on a multi-day composite, guys. Right. This thing, honestly, you want my honest answer? I think it easily comes down to here with how bad the Nasdaq's been. It could do some sort of hold here, right? Like if you get like let's say you get a bounce here off this level here where there's kind of a little multi-day composite down here, right? If it just comes down and goes, I don't know, let's just say it does this and then tries to reclaim before ultimately getting accepted back down again. That could also be a really nice scalp setup. But the trade is down, okay? Everybody knows it. And I don't want you guys to lose money. I don't want your family to lose money. I want retirees to lose money. But it's not good. Any bounce you get, I honestly think is a free short. I really do, right? We know what the mechanics are going to look like in quarter one. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. And people taking the wrong side of the trade are going to lose a lot of money, right? So, again, thank you to whoever told me to switch the TPO profiles. Look how much actually beautiful this is. Remember before when I was showing it, it was all like crunched up? See, even I learn a thing or two once in a while. I've been trading Bitcoin for so many years and whatnot, but I mean, stocks are easy. I use the Greeks for those anyways. I don't really use TPO for stocks. I use it a little bit, but not a ton. But just for those guys who can't afford, one of those good Greek services, and don't go out and just buy the cheapest random one because it'll give you bad data. But TPO is at least great to help you understand of where some levels could be and where you could get some scalps off of. Oh yeah, but look how much more beautiful that looks now, guys. If you guys want to go ahead and just follow those settings, I mean, just pause the video. I'll even put it up again here. But for stocks, use something like this. Use a 1 day, 15-minute, 60% value so you get a little bit better readings. This is how I like it. You can put it to whatever you want. Then, yeah, I guess on weekly, just do 1 week, 1 hour. So while we're talking about weekly, let's just do it. Because why not, right? Ooh. Okay, look, combine here. This we can combine still. It's not perfect, but I am going to use that just because I am me. Yeah, just look, guys, right? Like, the trade's down, right? We all know it's down, right? I don't know. What we'll do quick before I end the video, I don't think there's really much I want to cover because we're just doing a little Wednesday update. Let's look at the VIX, right? I said this was bullish structure in the VIX. And where did we bounce from? All the dealer long down here. And we know the flip is at, it's about 19.5. I know I have it marked here at 20, but that's just for different reasons. But it's 19.5 where this flips. And if this bleeds lower in the after hours and opens lower tomorrow, and you get more acceptance lower, this thing's going to rip. Okay? But I said this in other videos too. If this does rip, it could mark a nice little bottom for a bounce. And I'd be looking for a 30 plus VIX to mark a bottom to get a little bounce into the start of January. But I do think after the second and third week of January, it's straight down into at least March. Okay? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? But Bitcoin sent a warning, foreign markets are sending a warning, geopolitical tensions are sending a warning, the indexes are sending warnings, right? And let's just look at the schizo chart from the 90s, right? We topped out, we did this little V-shaped thing, and even this shows it's just straight down. And this call hedging kicks in, is it next week? Will kick in a week and a half, 2 weeks? Two and a half weeks. On the 31st is when that monthly OPEX ends, right? And they're just going to hedge these positions. All right? The trade's down. The trade is down. And we all know this. Okay? Look. You've broke through the middle line here. There's nothing. Getting something into this lower value again, it's not going to be fun. Okay? But again, if you get this downtrend, I do see a bounce, or at least some uptrend into the middle of the year when they start cutting rates again. And I said this, right? I am bearish now because I know the divergence is there. I'm not just bearish because I'm a fucking gay bear. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. You know, I've been, I know. Okay? This isn't some bullshit, you know, prop trading. Hey, I use SMAs and RSI, and yeah, I made 17 grand today. No, okay, this is properly analyzed, going through whatever data we can find and using it, especially the options data, because that tells you everything. If you learn the options data, you can trade the market so easy. And I recommend anyone, you know, maybe take a course at Vol Signals or some sort of options course with someone who actually understands how the market mechanic hedging works. And how options mechanics works, right? But again, look at the credit spreads. Remember where I said it was going to bounce from? And it did it. It did it. And now it's going up. And the VIX has still barely moved. And when the VIX goes and these credit spreads get blown out, below 6,400 in the SPX, there is nothing to save you for another at least 600 to 800 points. Nothing below 6,400. Absolutely nothing. Okay? Mortgages, they're flat. They're not even declining, right? If anything, it's a little uptick, if anything. Yield adjusted, this is actually the scarier one in my opinion. Starting to make these higher highs, that's the scarier one in my opinion. Right? We talked about our treasuries briefly, but like, again, you have a chance to kind of maybe make a macro bounce off some of these levels, but listen, man. I mean, you guys do you. I don't know if you guys have been looking at any of the news, but credit spreads are bad. JP Morgan, they're even a little underwater with some of their hedge funds and whatnot. The private credit sector, they're underwater on a lot of their loans and stuff too. So I think, you know, like, and I've said this before, you still have time. I would seriously take profits if you have not yet. Okay? Now is not the time to be complacent. I've been saying this for weeks. Right? I never said short down here. I never said it was over down here. I said wait to see what happens when you come into these ranges. And it played out exactly how I thought it was. Right? It's not, yeah. Okay, the pain trade is up. It's not down. So, anyways, we're going to wrap it up there for our Wednesday update. This was a bit of a long one. I'm sorry for ranting through some of it. But, I mean, I think it's important that that you discuss things like that. And I think it's important that you show it. I think it's important that you share the real truth and idea of what's going on, and not the, wow, I feel so bullish, euphoria in a divergent scenario, right? You have to be able to look through the lens as a trader, right? There's times to long. There's times to absolutely get long, and we've had plenty of times to be long, right? We had times to be long here, down here, down here, right? Down here, down here. So many times. But it's divergent now, right? So we're gonna wrap it up there. I love you guys. I hope you guys make the great trades. Drop some trades. You guys got some good trade ideas? You guys got some good profits or whatever? Talk to me in the comments. I love replying. Whenever I get comments, I get really happy. I like to reply to those. Okay. Yeah, this VVIX VIX here. I mean, I guess I should update it. I don't know. What can we do? Can we change it? Can we go like that maybe? Sure, let's do that. Right. I don't know. I don't even know what this thing anymore. I don't know. Fuck it. We'll change it to look like that. Anyways, I'm out. Love you guys. Take care. Bye bye.